Hello students, welcome to Learner's Planet. Now let us continue with the chapter Control and Coordination. So we had already studied that what these two words basically means. And these type of processes are very important in a living system. Basically, all processes, all the life processes going on in a living system, it has to take place in a controlled manner. And none of the system is independent of each other, right? They have to work together in a coordinated fashion. Now in the higher organisms, these processes, that is the process of control and coordination, it occurs by the system known as the nervous system. And in the previous session or the previous parts, we had already completed about this particular system. Nervous system, it is basically comprised of what? It is comprised of the brain, spinal cord and the nerves. And all these together, they convey the messages from one part of the body to the another part of the body, and then command is given and the response is actually shown by a living organism to any particular change. That means initially there is a stimulus, and then it is giving stimulus is transmitted to the brain. Initially it is received by the receptors at a particular site, and then they are conveyed or they are transmitted in the form of electrical impulse. Now this is an important characteristic feature which is linked with the nervous system. That means a message is transmitted in the form of electrical impulse. And then further processing and the interpretation is done, and the command is also given. And thus we are able to give response to a particular thing. Now for this sort of thing, there is a different regions in the brain. There is a development of the spinal cord from where the nerves are arising, so as to interlink, so as to communicate between the major commanding body of the system and the different parts of the body. Beside this, there is another system in these higher organisms or in the human beings which is helping in the process of control and coordination. And this is what we are going to continue in this particular session. So let us study what this next system is there for the process of control and the coordination. So this next particular system is what? It is commonly known as glandular system. This glandular system is actually comprised of various different kinds of glands. Now what are the glands? Glands, they are a group of some cells. These cells, they form some tissue, and or we can say simply that these cells or a group of cells is having a secretory nature. The important chemical property of this particular group of cell is that they can secrete different type of secretions. Now what this secretion is containing? It contains various sort of chemical messengers, or they are containing some of the chemicals which are conveying the message to the different target cells and helping in the coordination and the control process, or to give a response, or in any case they help in the normal control of your body. So these special glands or these special glandular cells, they are therefore so important in the process of control and coordination. Now these secretions, what the gland or these cells are actually secreting, chemically they are different, and of course function wise also they are very different from each other. Next important thing, that they are always not secreting these particular material. Rather the secretion is accordingly at the particular time, and it is in a minute quantity so as to perform a particular function. Now these glands, they are of different types. They are different on the basis of the type of material they are secreting, type of chemical substances they are secreting, and the way or the position where the function is going to take place. So on this basis, the glands can be classified as the exocrine glands, then the endocrine glands, then paracrine glands, and the autocrine glands. So these different sort of glands, as you can see in the name itself, something must be very clear. So exocrine, the one which is functioning outside the cell. Exo means outside, isn't it? The cells are secreting out the various chemical messengers. Initially, you know why we call them as the chemical messengers? It is because the cell which is secreting the material is providing a message at the target site that what function has to take place. So this is why we call them as the chemical messengers. Now these messengers can be some proteins, they can be some, we can say, like hormones, or they can be various enzymes or certain regulators, or so on. Whatever is the material or whatever is the substance secreted here is having different sort of function, and of course they are secreted from different type of glands, and the site of action is definitely different in the each kind of case. Now let us find out what does it mean in detail here. The exocrine means they are actually functioning outside the cell, right? Now outside means where? In the nearby location, or at the far away, or where it is taking place. So in this case, the site of action is always situated away from the site of its secretion. So if this material is to be transported to that target site, how it will go over there? That is the thing. So exocrine is the one which is transporting its own secretion to the target site via some duct. So these exocrine glands, they are always having some of the ducts which carries the secretion of these cells to the particular target cell. Then comes the endocrine. Now endocrine, which is actually secreted by the cell, but it is always it is not having any of the duct, but the transportation must take place. They are functioning at the different site in the body. Now just imagine, if they are ductless, then how they are transported? That is the important point, and this is why these type of glands are differentiated from the exocrine glands. They are secreting the material, that's fine, they are secreting it out, and the site of action is somewhere else, of course, but they are ductless. So these type of glands, they secrete the material and they pour it into the blood, or it is drained into the blood, and blood is the best circulatory method in our body. So along with this circulation of blood, the hormones will be transported to the site of its action. So initially the site of its secretion and the site of its action is of course different in the case of endocrine glands also. Further is the paracrine gland. Now these paracrine glands, they are secreting out the material, or they are secreting out the various type of messengers, and these messengers, they are again transported to the nearby site. They do not have any sort of ducts over here, and of course they are having some target tissues where they have to act upon. So these will act upon in the nearby tissues only. They are not having any long distance target tissue, rather they can function in the nearby cells or the nearby tissues only. Whereas the autocrine, it is the type of gland which is acting on itself. That means the cell which is secreting out these particular glands, the glands which are secreting out these particular secretions, they themselves are the target tissue for the secretion. And of course secretion is necessary because the receptor is located at different site over the membrane or interiorly, so they have to be secreted accordingly. So this is how there is a broad classification of the glands which is helping in the process of control and coordination. So now let us clearly understand the exact meaning of these glands with the help of some examples. Then it will be more clear. So endocrine glands, these glands, we said they are the ductless glands which release their secretions or which are secreting the material. Now these secretions, they are actually drained into the blood, and for the blood is going to carry these particular secretions to the target site. Now this target site could be any of the cell of the body. What we mean by this is, of course, it is specific for the type of the hormone or type of the secretion or the type of the chemical messenger present in the secretion. So these target sites, they are present in the different locations in our body. So here one of the example is what? It is thyroid gland. Now these thyroid gland, they are having they are actually secreting the hormone, that is your thyroid hormones, or we can call them as the thyroxine, right? Now this thyroxine, it is having an important role in the metabolism of several organic compounds. Let us say, for example, the carbohydrates, proteins, or the fat. These are the organic compounds. So thyroxine is involved in the metabolism of these organic compounds, and they are secreted out into the blood. Now where the metabolism is taking place? Throughout your body. So the target site is of course widespread over here in this case. Then there are some different different sort of these glands also, which are having the target site which is not present throughout the body but at a specific site. For example, gonads. Now these gonads, they can be a male gonad or a female gonad, right? Male gonad, that is testes. Now testes, hormone which is secreted here is a testosterone, and this testosterone is actually supporting the secondary growth in the males along with the sperm production. Now sperms, they are produced only in the testes, right? Then secondary growth is each and every cell of the body is undergoing the changes during the puberty. There are specific parts and there are various specific changes. So accordingly they are having a particular target site. Now blood is carrying the hormone or these particular secretion to all throughout your body, but each cell is not going to respond. Which cell will respond to these particular messengers? Only the one which is having the detector or the receptor over its membrane. So once this hormone is or the messenger is recognized, the further chemical reaction would be set up and the cell or the response would be generated. Now how much these secretions are there? They should be in a particular limit, right? And this, if this limit is actually crossed, whether towards the bottom line or towards the upper range, so there may be some of the problems associated with that. So this is how these endocrine glands, in short, they are secreting out the material into the blood so that it is coming in contact with the different parts of the body, but the response would be generated at a site where the detector for the same is present. Besides this, the exocrine glands. Now these are the glands which are having the ducts. Glands with ducts. So if they are having the duct, definitely the secretions are not going to diffuse out in the surrounding. It is transported to the target site through the duct only. So these secretions are therefore carried to the target site by their duct. Just say for the example, it is liver. Liver is the largest gland of the body, right? Now these glands, they are not basically secreting the hormones. They are secreting out various material which can serve as something messenger, something other than the hormone. Like it may be an enzyme, it may be certain regulatory protein or inhibitory protein, or accordingly. Now what is secreted by the liver? Liver is actually meant for the secretion of bile, and this you know very well, right? The bile, it is secreted by the bile, or you can call it as a bile juice. This bile juice contains what? It contains this bilirubin, various type of pigments, then the bile salts. So these pigments are secreted by the liver. The salts are secreted by the liver. And the importance, of course, there is an important function of each of these things here. Let's say, for example, salts, how they are functioning here, as they maintain the they are actually providing the favorable condition for the functioning of various enzymes in the intestine. Now, how it is coming into the intestine? It is coming through a duct which is known as the bile duct. It is also known as a common bile duct, as this particular duct is it is transferring the secretions of liver as well as the pancreas together into where? Into the small intestine. So what is the target site here? The target site is inside the cavity of the small intestine. So this is how these exocrine glands are functioning in our living system. Now, beside this liver, you know, there are certain glands which can function as endocrine as well as the exocrine. And one of the example of such type of gland which is having this dual function, which can serve as exocrine as well as the endocrine, is pancreas. Now this pancreas, where is it located? It is located towards the left side of the abdominal cavity. Somewhere near, we can say, the small intestine, below the stomach, near the duodenum. You remember what is duodenum? It is the first part of your small intestine, and this is where the location for pancreas is. Now this pancreas, it is serving as exocrine gland as well as an endocrine gland. In the case of the cells which are functioning as the exocrine glands, they are meant for secreting out various enzymes. You know which enzymes are secreted by this? The enzymes which are secreted by it are, they are like trypsin. You must be remembering. You have studied about it so well, right? So trypsin, then we can say like pancreatic amylase. The pancreatic amylase. Beside this, the another is the lipase. Now what are these enzymes they are meant for? Or what is the basic function of these enzymes? Trypsin is involved in the protein digestion. Amylase is linked with the digestion of starch. Then lipase is actually accelerating the digestion of lipid molecules. Now these are they are secreted by the pancreas, and whatever digestion we are saying, it takes place where? Inside the intestine. How they are transferred over there? So as these cells are secreting out these enzymes, so they are known as the glands, and then they are carried to the small intestine through a common bile duct, and this is why we are calling it as an exocrine gland. Now overall function is, of course, it helps in the digestion. Now the secondary function or the other cells here can serve as the endocrine glands. The specific cells which are functioning as these endocrine glands, they are actually known as the islets of Langerhans. You might have heard about it, and even if not, so it is something important. It is an important term or a scientific term for the specific cells which are functioning as the endocrine glands inside the pancreas. These are of different types. They are made up of alpha cells and the beta cells. There is not a much requirement to go into the depth, but always remember, among this islet of Langerhans also there are different type of cells, and each type of cell is therefore secreting out the different type of a hormone. So now they are secreting the hormones here. Which hormone is secreted? They are insulin, You know the name, you have heard it, right? So insulin, and besides the another hormone secreted is glucagon. Now each of these particular hormone, it is transported to the target site through the blood. It is not necessary that it can function over there only, isn't it? The point is that at the target site the metabolism has to take place, and that is regulated by these particular hormones. So how it is carried to that target site? It is via blood. And this is the reason why we are calling it as an endocrine gland. Now whether it is insulin or glucagon, each is helping in the metabolism of glucose or the metabolism of carbohydrates. Now are they functioning in the same manner? These two hormones, they are functioning in the antagonistic manner. You know what we mean by antagonism? It means they are having the opposite function. Insulin and glucagon, they are opposite of each other. For example, this particular hormone, that is insulin, it is meant for converting glucose to glycogen, whereas glucagon is meant for converting glycogen to glucose. So this is now clear that if insulin is actually converting glucose to glycogen, what is glycogen? It is a storage form of glucose in animals. And in the case of plants, what is the storage form of this starch? Glucose. Of course it is starch. So now you can see that how the insulin is actually helping in lowering the level of glucose in our body. If this insulin is not there, what will happen? It can result in the disease called as diabetes. It will increase the level of glucose. Now when there is high or the more amount of glucose in our body, what will happen? Insulin is secreted by these islets of Langerhans, and if the level of glucose is low, then what will happen? Glucagon is secreted out, and it will accelerate, or it will increase the rate of the reverse reaction. That means it will break down the glycogen molecule and convert it into the glucose, so that the glucose level will come back to the normal point. So whatever is the thing, the process is actually taking place through the endocrine glands, or in the it is transported to target site through the blood. Further, the next part or next type of gland is the paracrine glands, right? Now these paracrine glands, they are the specific or special types of glands which are secreting the chemical messengers. Now how these chemical messengers are functioning? They are the ductless glands. They are not having any type of ducts, right? So how the secretion is going to be it is eliminated over there, or how it is released in the surrounding? So this is done by a simple diffusion process. So diffusion process, as these cells or these glands, they are secreting it out. So it is going in the surrounding, in the nearby, it is just in the surrounding region. Now if it is in the surrounding region and it is not carried out by the blood, then what should be the target site? So as they are following the process of diffusion, the point is very clear that it cannot move to a very long distance, because of course diffusion is a limited type, isn't it? It depends upon the concentration of a compound in a particular region. So as a homogeneous system is there, further diffusion is going to stop, and it never happens that continuously secretion will going to take place, isn't it? So these messengers which are secreted here, they will diffuse out in the surrounding and will reach to the target tissue. And of course these target tissue, they must be located in a nearby condition, or they must be somewhere in the nearby location. Can you think of certain examples? They could be like various growth factors. Now what these growth factors are? These are the special compounds, or most of the time they are the proteins, or in short we can commonly say that these factors or these chemical compounds, they are secreted by the cells, and in the surrounding tissue they help in the proliferation of the cell. Growth means what? Increase in the size, increase in the mass, or increase in the number of the cell. So these particular proteins or these particular factors, when they are secreted out, and if they are having a particular let us say this detector over the target tissue, then the stimulation will take place. Stimulation of what? Stimulation for its proliferation. And as it starts proliferating, that means the cell is under the growth process. So how this factor or these factors are functioning, or what type of role they are playing in the body? If they are proliferating the cells, if they are helping in such type of growth of the cells, then it can participate in the process of, let us say, in the process of repair mechanism, right? Let us say if there are different type of these growth factors. A particular group of cell has to be stimulated. It may be known as colony stimulating factor. So in short, these growth factors, they are having the stimulation of stimulatory function with respect to the growth of different sort of cells. Now of course they are of different types. Why they are of different types? Because our body is made up of different type of cells. So different type of cells or different type of tissues, their growth is also specific. The time when it needs to be proliferated, that of course varies in each type of tissue. So this is how these growth factors are supporting the growth of a particular cell. Now the next type of gland is a autocrine gland. These autocrine glands, they are secreting the messengers which are acting upon themselves. That means they themselves are the secretory site, and they themselves are the target site. So what type of messengers are they secreting? The name itself is suggesting auto means self. So these cells are acted upon by these particular messengers. Let us say for examples. See, the examples here are interleukins. This term is new. This name you must be listening for the first time here, right? These interleukins, they are the special type of molecules which are secreted by the lymphocytes when they are exposed, or when they recognize different sort of antigens, we can say, or the surrounding situation is changing. So after that time, they have to proliferate, and they have to develop, they have to grow a particular type of lymphocyte. They must secrete various type of antibodies, isn't it? So such type of activation of lymphocyte is a major, it is under the control of these interleukins. Now this interleukin is not a single type, it is of different types. There can be IL-1, IL-2, so many different forms of interleukins has been discovered. So these are involved in the proliferation or the regulation of different type of lymphocytes. Besides that, the other example, a new term could be a cytokine. Now this cytokine is again a sort of a autocrine, it is actually secreted by a autocrine gland. So this is I think if we go in detail, it is going to be so vast, but you must understand that there are different type of glands which are secreting various messengers which are having the target site within themselves. The detectors for these messengers are located on the membrane of these secretory cells only. Well, this is all about the different types of glands, and further we will continue with the specific endocrine system. We will study about various endocrine glands which are secreting the hormones and how they are functioning, and all details will continue in the next session. Till then, thank you so much. Have a nice day. Goodbye.